dare I say it, you're tarnishing your Hall of Fame career. And I know you're doing it for a lot of money, and I would do it too. But the legacy you think you're leaving, is nobody's going to remember this. I'm sorry.
Right, so next on the agenda, Adam Copeland, the former Edge in WWE, now with AEW, of course, has defended the recent AEW spike on the suplex, or suplex on the spike spot with Jon Moxley that we watched last week. Here he is speaking to Scott Fishman, and I think of TV Guide. For some reason, my printer didn't print out the name. The Rated R Superstar was asked about the polarizing spot. Here's the quote. I look at wrestling as a variety show. That means you bring a lot of different things to the table with that. There can be some comedy, some straight-up wrestling hardcore matches. That has always been the case. It's also not really out of the ballpark of what Moxley and I do every once in a while. Think about it, me and Mick Foley, I'm sure there are a lot of people who were disturbed by that too. He's referencing the flaming table thing from WrestleMania in 2006. I think wrestling can bring that all to the table. I think that is what AEW does. I also feel like AEW is not afraid to take some risks. For lack of a better analogy, we're kind of a bit punk rock. It's not always going to be pretty. It's an alternative. It's something different. I think if you look throughout the history of the company, it's not something new. Darby Allin was falling off ladders and glass and onto glass and thumbtacks. It has always been there to an extent. So let's also face it, if you have two wrestlers coming out to wrestle a technical match every match, it can get pretty boring. Maybe a tiny bit more I can speak on, but you said a mouthful there. Let's dissect it.
Well, I got to go back and look at this. I'm going to start with the last thing. Isn't that Bret Hart? I'm going to read it. Let's also face it, if you have two wrestlers coming out to wrestle a technical match every match, that can get pretty boring. That was pretty much Bret Hart's career, correct? He was thrown in certain matches. I quit. There was some blood. There was brawling, but essentially a wrestling match. I've never seen Bret, outside of the occasional going through a table or the ring bell spot. I've never seen anything like that. And he's a huge writer.
He's suggesting that not every match is a technical match on a card. Oh, something has to change, which of course it does.
I understand that. I was just trying to give. I wasn't sure. I interpreted it as if you go out there every single time and have a technical wrestling match or wrestle, you're going to be boring. And he's a huge Bret Hart fan. So if I misunderstood that you're saying every single different match cannot be a wrestling match, I would kind of argue with that because the storylines, the stipulations within the work. Texas death match doesn't mean someone's getting. I've seen lots of death matches. I've never seen spikes come out. Not in our era, I should say. Today's era, you could have, a Ring of Honor pure match with thumbtacks. So, Edge, Adam Copeland, Cope, whatever he's called now in AEW, is being a good soldier for AEW. He's sticking up for his brand, and he's sticking up for his fellow wrestlers on the roster. Is it a little misplaced? I believe it is, because I don't think you can't go to WBD or any other TV network, and when they say, what is up with the spikes? What is up with the blood? We saw him trying to pull it out of his back. This is a little bit too far. And you say, well, it's a variety show. Like, no, that's not the variety we want. You have to please some master in this television world, and it's got to be the networks. Was there any fallout? Did the networks comment? Did the networks say anything about this? Do they even watch the show? My guess is no.
No, as far as we know, no. I thought in the UK broadcast it might be edited out, but because it's shown so late over here, it wasn't. So
he can listen. If I work for a company, I want to defend the company. I want the company to grow. I want to show that I'm a good employee for the company. And of course, he's putting his body on the line. That's something I have more of a concern. The Moxley thing with the bat, if Edge got suplexed into the spikes, I'd be a lot more like, what in the world is that? But Moxley loves that. For some reason, this guy has embraced self-harm. Whatever reasoning he has for it, that's your own. You got a wife, you got a kid. There's certain times where you need to have some guardrails put up for yourself, and you need to be protected from yourself. And getting back to Edge, like he jumped off the top of cage and broke his leg. That was so unnecessary because remember back then, that was when Gangrel was supposed to he did make the save in the cage. So his spot.
Yeah, he debuted and then that cost him his job in AEW, basically.
That sucks. But what I'm
No.
saying is the Edge spot off the cage was a gloss over to the actual business that happened afterwards. So it was essentially either everything got forgotten. I forgot about Gangrel. I thought he was supposed to debut because that's been 3 or 4 times in AEW where Gangrel was supposed to be a part of the roster and something fell through. Like he was
Mhm.
supposed to come out as a surprise, and then Edge did the Gangrel entrance at SummerSlam, right? Against Rollins.
Yeah, there was also WWE CW because he was supposed to be aligned with Kevin Thorne and Ariel at the time. But I think Vince, like the Balls Mahoney thing, he just said Gangrel will put on some weight, and he said, no, we don't want him. And it was like, I think
And
it was that.
Gangrel's, I wrestled him not too many years ago. He was wrestling just like what you saw in the Attitude Era. He can still go. Getting back to Edge, I compliment him for being, a defender of the brand. But I feel like with this thing, and you could talk about the Darby Allin thing. We've argued the Darby Allin thing's stupid as well. He did the glass spot in Sting's retirement match where the focus should have been on Sting, and that happened.
I don't remember. I mean, some people said, man, wasn't that Darby Allin thing cool? But a lot of people were also saying, man, glass went all over the place into the crowd. That could have been a liability nightmare. Lots of people were saying that was stupid. And not even for just a storytelling reason that took focus on off Sting. But there was also... But there's loads of things. I mean, I can only remember a few examples, but aside from usual deathmatch stuff, is Sting jumping off ladders and landing
breaking his teeth.
chin first in someone's knee, and Dante Martin and other examples like this where they were wholly unnecessary, and everyone at the time said this is stupid, but this is even more stupid. But it's one of those things where you see it on the big screen, or like on a major AEW, WWE, whatever it is, then the indies will copy it, then the backyarders, if they still exist, will copy it, and it normalizes it. And that's what's scary.
Yeah, and also what's scary is the cognitive dissonance and the people convincing themselves, talking about Edge, Moxley, anybody in that roster is going to say, what would be cool, and thinking they're creating a moment that's going to be remembered. Now, he compared it to the Mick Foley. That was WrestleMania 22 in Chicago, I believe, when he did the spear through the table that was on fire. Well, it was still WrestleMania. There's no excuse for it. It's Mick Foley. That's part of Mick Foley's character. You could have very easily, there could have been something done there. And I remember Edge saying when he did that sell with him like this was 100% real. Like, oh my God, He was like in temporary shock about it.
It was like an
adrenaline, and also he was selling,
thing, yeah.
but I could see it in his face, like, ooh. Yeah, because that's dangerous proposition. We saw it on Botch Watch. He speared him. His head could have been pogo sticked and DDT'd himself on the floor. So he got lucky. That's all I attribute to it right now. Moxley's lucky. Edge is lucky to be back in the ring after that severe break off the top of the cage. He's in amazing shape, amazing worker. But dare I say it, you're tarnishing your Hall of Fame career. And I know you're doing it for a lot of money, and I would do it too. But the legacy you think you're leaving is nobody's going to remember this. I'm sorry. Do you agree with that? I actually reached out and sent Dante Martin well wishes. And I forgot it even happened until you reminded me. No, I'm saying these are
It's such a
forgettable
nothing
moments.
thing,
These
though.
are not memorable moments. Work backwards. Say 10 years from now, are people going to remember this? And I think that would stop like 95% of this.
Probably wouldn't. They just do it anyway.
Oh, so then
Now,
we got plenty
I want to pick up
of,
on two
clips
separate
now.
No, absolutely, for Botch Watch and beyond. Now, one of the things I want to bring up was, of course, the Darby Allin thing, which we've already talked about. The other thing is that wrestling is a variety show, but it's a complete misunderstanding of what a variety show is supposed to be. It's not a variety show, for the most part, isn't the absolute extremes from both ends of the spectrum, from unbelievably twee to snuff film, and then mix them all up in one show. It's a lot of variety. But I said this on Dutch's show. It's like, and I said this to you beforehand. It's like, okay, segment 1 is close-up card magic. Segment 2 is a gangbang. Segment 3 is a lynching. Segment 4 is learning pottery. It's like, yeah, okay, that's variety, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, and it's an entire paragraph saying that we are a variety show, and it doesn't wash. It's almost self-convincing.
Oh yeah, it's an echo chamber type thing. It's putting it out there, and it felt like Edge was speaking words that were like marketing speak in some ways, little bits and pieces of it. And when you got to explain it, how many paragraphs is the quote? It's at least
Oh, it was actually 4. I deleted one because there was just nothing.
when
of
you got to
substance.
explain it that much, it means you know that it wasn't supposed to be something that made any sense. And at least it was Moxley. I just don't understand this guy. This guy's had every opportunity. He's been WWF champion or WWE champion. He had a really strong debut at Double or Nothing, I believe, where he gave Jericho to DDT. Then he brawled with Omega and gave it on top of the chips on the set. And then it was just a different look for this guy. But there's a lot of people who has actually said about this Moxley thing, no wonder Brock Lesnar turned down all his ideas for their match at WrestleMania. And what were those ideas that Moxley had? Because everybody looked at Brock like, you just don't want to do good business. You just don't want to be cooperative. Maybe he was pitching stuff like this.
Yeah. Maybe he just doesn't want to do stupid stuff, because I don't think it does anything for Moxley either. I think what it does is I think it just drags him down onto an indie level, doing some of this really extreme stuff, and it's doing the same for Adam Copeland. And the one major thing that I need to stress is not only was it all on free TV, it wasn't even the main event of the show.
It was in the first hour.
Why? I think it might have been the lead on the second hour.
Crossover
It was somewhere in between.
Between the first and second. Which
Yeah.
With most things, it's a smart move to bring up the watermark and say we're going into hour 2. Raw always did that because it was what? It was Raw, then the War Zone or something. They switched it over a little bit, branding from hour 1 to hour 2 before they went to 3.
But there was also different like metric reasons for the audience, but also on the second hour they wanted to make it clear that there'd be like more swearing as well, or a bit more violence, almost like a parental warning guide in that sense.
Now, if they had put that out before the match, do you think that would have helped something to say, hey, listen, this is going to be violent. It's going to be really out there. We have a feeling that you don't want young children watching right now.
No, that might have been worse, because that might have dobbed Tony Khan in it, because then he probably would have known ahead of time what they were planning to do, whereas at least he's got some sort of quasi-deniability that they were going to use spikes, saying, well, give these guys autonomy, I'm sorry, it won't happen again, kind of thing. But then if he puts on a warning beforehand, he knows something extreme is going to happen.
Do you think he knew or didn't know?
That's a good question. I suspect, if I was going to guess, yes, but wouldn't be surprised.
We're holding up a big board and we're putting nails in it and magic or whatever the prop department is.
Yeah, but that's been there for weeks beforehand, because Adam Copeland's been carrying this around in promos and stuff. But in fact, actually, this is going to go into the next thing. Is Rob Van Dam. So he's been catching flack from the stupidest corners of the internet, i.e. Twitter, for saying the following. It's not my thing. This is referring to Jon Moxley, nail in the back kind of thing. And crazy dangerous. That's not wrestling to me. A couple of years ago, it was like, man, they're growing. And then there's a feeling, there being AEW again, a feeling that the inmates are running the prison. I would rather be associated with WWE than AEW. Now, people have been remarking that Rob was in ECW, therefore must be a hypocrite. Yes, he did some silly things with chairs and tables, etc., and the usual 1990s wrestling plunder. But shoving spikes in your back near your spine is something completely different. There's also another example where he used Janice. Janice was at Abyss's, as you well know, the 2x4 with the nail sticking out of it. Yes. Janice Carter, it was named after, who just passed away as well.
She was a nice woman.
Yes, it was actually sort of an inside joke. That's why the thing was called Janice, funnily enough. Anyway, Rob did use the 2x4 on Abyss, never would do on himself, in a working way, like one in the stomach kind of thing. And then there was also a backstage segment where Abyss sliced up, supposedly, Rob Van Dam, but it was one of those cutaways, and then he was found on the floor covered in tomato sauce. So, why is Rob catching flack? You're not. Your video was watched, not to brag too much, 20 times more. But you were in ECW.
Well, we do get comments like that. We get the ECW stuff. But then again, like I say, maybe people had that interpretation. he's in ECW, but he's all the comedy, entertainment, just general, not ultra violent stuff. Although at the climax or payoffs of angles or cage matches, I was involved with a lot of weapons and blood. Trust me, fire. We're gonna do a watch along on the Public Enemy, putting me through flaming tables. I'm not immune to it, but Rob had done much more, I guess, high risk, potentially dangerous stuff with ladders, chairs, other things. He had more of a plunder in his matches, especially the Van Daminator, the Van Terminator, the Coast to Coast with the trash can. I get maybe that's why, but man, I feel like they're missing the entire point and message. If Rob Van Dam is saying this, if Rob Van Dam, this is what blew me away. If Rob Van Dam, a direct quote right here that you put in the notes, says, I'd rather be associated with WWE, the company that has strung him along, jerked him around, treated him really bad, took the title away, even though I understood he got pulled over and everything, and he was in the wrong there. But stop, start, and played games with Rob throughout his entire career there. He prefers that over AEW. Think about the gravity of that. That's what he's saying. He's not saying AEW. By the way, he's not saying that he likes WWE. He's not saying he wants to go back to WWE. He's not saying he enjoys watching WWE. It's the process of the lesser evil in this vein. So he's absolutely right. And the thing is, the people that are giving Rob crap about this, it's so funny that they love Rob for years, if not decades. But one little thing that they might disagree with the guy who was, like I said, the most over character in the history of ECW, battled the WWE machine and still kept himself over to the point that he comes out on AEW TV for a one-off. It was against Jack Perry, correct?
Yeah, he's made a few matches.
Well, the last memorable
AEW
one that I
course,
remember was him against Jack Perry with Jerry Lynn coming, calling him out. All right, so every single time Rob has appeared on AEW, dare I say it, Rob gets a bigger reaction than most of the roster.
Yes.
So what did Rob do wrong? He created moments. He used the hype.
He dared criticize AEW. That's what he did wrong in the eyes of cretins. I mean, like, you can't just sit back and just be objective.
We're hitting a very, very dangerous inflection point with AEW and wrestling in general, but especially AEW. Instead of listening to feedback from Rob Van Dam or anybody else, not even me, but Rob's a top guy who's been everywhere, done everything, had major success, and also has probably had conversations with Tony Khan. You're not listening. Instead, what you do is what most people in a narcissist relationship do. The narcissist says, yeah, but, explains it in 4 paragraphs. I'm not saying Edge is one. I'm saying the company identity is very narcissistic that, oh, by the way, if you say anything that makes us wrong in any way, we're going to drop ad hominem attacks. And, yeah, but you did this. Yeah, but you did that. If people are saying that, then deep down, the AEW fans, guess what they're doing? They're making Rob Van Dam right. Because the minute you say, you don't even say, yeah, you say, you did this and you did that, you're a hypocrite. That doesn't mean AEW is right. That just means what we did in ECW was wrong. But that's fine. Do you see that? Do you see the double standard and the way these people are trying to split hairs?
Hey, here's something even funnier, right? People have been saying, well, you can obviously tell that WWE are paying him. And it's like, yeah, they are. Guess what? He signed a Legends deal in 2021 and has still made 6 matches. He had 6 matches with AEW under a WWE Legends deal. So it's hardly like he's got, total loyalty to WWE here, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just some of these arguments. Some people just get so in their feels. And just, once again, it's like, you're sticking up for billionaires here. You know what I mean? Why do you care so much? We're looking at this as, one, it's great content for the show to talk about, but also we can sort of sit back and be objective about it, or at least fairly objective, we think anyway. If AEW does something right, we say it. Wrong, we say it. Same with WWE. Most people would have probably said John Cena and Cody Rhodes was amazing. We actually you picked apart why there were some things that were missing and what you would have done differently. It's like, we're pretty darn objective. Some people just can't handle
Well, I'm going to
that.
tell the real truth about all this stuff, about the way the workers look at it. Our show is not objective in the sense that I want to put content out there that maybe might not protect the current generation of workers, of wrestlers, but maybe the future ones that watch this show that want to be wrestlers will watch Brett versus Austin, will watch a wrestling match, will learn the right way to do it, protect themselves, have a 20, 30, 40-year career, and milk every promoter out of as much money as possible. That's our goal, our mission statement. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's the George Carlin thing, where he said after a while, I just have to sit back and just let it go. No emotional attachment. I get emotional during this, but after we're done, I can't care more than the wrestlers that are involved in the dangerous stuff. I can't care more than Moxley about Moxley's family. I can't care more about Edge than Edge cares about himself. So it's just like I give my opinion, I say it. Hopefully, it gets through to the right people. Hopefully, it gets through to the wrong people and they become the right people. And just let the chips fall or the spiked bats fall where they may.